Hello and welcome back. And I'm here to talk about things I was up to in the month of March. Lots of games played on stream, mostly driven by a system variety type of thing. And we got a few pickups, and we're just going to get right into it. For games streamed during the month of March, right at the end of February, was working on Snoopy's Silly Sports Spectacular on the NES, the speed run, specifically for the one day in March that I did that game. It was for the silver category, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. Kind of breaking that one down. I think I found like a new strat with a different point value like required than what was listed on the rules. So that actually kind of like shaved quite a bit of time off of that one. But yeah, I mean, as of that particular stream, which I guess would have been March 1st, so I currently have like all of the world records for Snoopy Silly Sports Spectacular for the bronze category, the silver, and the gold. And yeah, it was a lot of fun kind of going through that game. It's something I was wanting to try for quite some time. And I think I talked about that in the last video for the February updates. But yeah, it was good to get into it, and actually getting a record on it too is it's not generally something I set out to do when I speedrun stuff. I usually just want to do it for fun, but it just kind of happened to work out that way, and very happy that happened. And then next up for the month of March was a long play of Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest. This was a long game redeem uh, from chat, and yeah, this is not a new to me game that I've played by any means, but it's one I've revisited. I'm fairly certain I've beaten it in the past, but I just don't really remembered it all that well. But um, with a lot of like help from chat, which is something I don't generally want, but in this case, I went for the 102% completion of the game, and in that case, it's I'm not in video games in general for like if there's collectathons, like especially for like 3D platforming. I'm not too interested in that, and that's kind of how I felt about this too. It's just like I don't really want to like comb every single level to try to find all the hidden stuff. So I took some hints on that one, and yeah, we got there. 102% officially. So Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest completed on stream, and yeah, it was a lot of fun revisiting that one. That's sort of like one of those games that a lot of people put it in sort of like a classic Super Nintendo platforming type of thing. And yeah, it was good to revisit that one. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I'm just ready to move on to what's next. For the Toe Jam and Earl weekly speedrun races in March, I got to participate in two races this time. Had some other conflicts during the races, which are every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, just FYI. Um, yeah, the first race ended up finishing first place out of four participants. Actually, had a pretty good run on that particular one. I think it was more that a lot of the other people, something happened with like game overs and that type of thing. I think it's more they didn't do well more than me like doing amazing. But I'll take the win. And then the second race, it was more kind of a mediocre kind of performance for me, and finished third out of three people in that particular one. But it's again, I don't really care that much about the rankings and where I finish. It's all just kind of a fun activity for me, and keep grinding away at Toe Jam and Earl, and that's not going away in the foreseeable future. And the next thing that happened in March was a variety stream. The wheel finally landed on a variety system stream, and I chose the Commodore 64. And that ended up being three separate streams of just random, I would say stuff either that I chose myself, or I had like something in chat where that you could tell me what to do. I don't have like a real like strong formula on what I do when I do variety streams. It's just more like I'll try to play it for like at least 5 minutes, assuming it works. And if something catches my interest, then I'll just keep going with it until I feel like okay, that I've had enough of that for now, and maybe I'll revisit that in the future, something along those lines. But anyway, yeah, obviously you've been seeing the game scroll across the screen there on my right. But just to say them out loud as well, on day one, we played Odell Lake, Space Taxi, Tusker, Bionic Granny, The Last Ninja, Ninja Hamster, Ghosts and Goblins, Commando, Bad Street Brawler, Karnov, Ghetto Blaster, Forbidden Forest, Mayhem in Monsterland, Midnight Resistance, and Rambo First Blood Part 2. Then on day two, how do you say that? I know we're going to go with that. Dragon's Den, FA Cup Football, Ducks Ahoy, Guns and Ghosts, Attack of the Mutant Camels, Squish 'em, Hard Hat Mac, Dragon's Lair 2, Battle Zone, Howard the Duck, Terra Cresta, Monty on the Run, Barbie, Sonic the Hedgehog, BC2, Grog's Revenge, G.I. Joe, and Masters of the Universe, the Ill Earth Stone. And then finally on day three, a lot more games for that one as well. We got through, well, not through, but Chiller, Aztec Challenge, Mountie Mix Death Ride, Mad Nurse, Gods and Heroes, Heat Seeker, that's 2 words, Heat Seeker, and then Heat Seeker, 1 word, Leaderboard Golf, Odell Lake again. We revisited the lake with our learning experience about the fish. Velocipede 2, then the original Velocipede. Toy Bazaar, Pancake, Emotep, Drelbs, Snoopy, Caveman Ugg Olympics, Solomon's Key, Bristles, and finally Labby Day Mort. And I don't think I'm going to talk about every single one of the Commodore 64 games, but I can just kind of quickly go over some thoughts that I had on them. Um, Space Taxi and Hard Hat Mac are both games that I have played before, and I think both of those games are kind of just considered classics on the C64, and it was cool just to kind of revisit those. And Hard Hat Mac in particular, I'm pretty sure I have not touched that one since the 1990s at some point, so it was kind of cool revisiting that one. Um, Games that I put this in the category of things I would probably visit again in more detail later, potentially. Ghost and Goblins, Ghetto Blaster, Mayhem in Monsterland, Midnight Resistance, Dragon's Lair 2, Howard the Duck, Monty on the Run, Aztec Challenge, Snoopy, and Labby Day Mort. In particular, let's see, Dragon's Lair 2, that had like a really, it actually kind of captured the feel of, like the quick time events from like the original arcade, which I was not really expecting. I think I was expecting something more along the lines like the NES Dragon's Lair, and that's just not what was happening on Dragon's Lair 2 on the C64. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise for me. Howard the Duck as well, that kind of had a similar type of thing. It's like, I'm not sure what I'm doing in this at all, but it was enough for me to kind of like, I might want to revisit this. And then Snoopy, a giant Snoopy sprite on that one, and just such a slow pace, at least on the first screens of it, but it was oddly addicting. And Labby Day Mort, I knew of that one. That's sort of a newer homebrew game that I don't know what year that came out in the top of my head, but I know Loco Molito, developer on that one, and shout out to Loco Molito. Most of the games that I've played that he's created, like I've generally had a really good time with them. And yeah, I could see that one being something I revisit in the future to try to get into a bit more detail. Um, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Barbie, the C64 version of Barbie that was oddly more fun than I was expecting it to be. Uh, it's Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but I kind of got into it a bit. There was more to it than I was expecting, and I honestly can't say anything bad about it. And then I'd also be remiss if I didn't talk about Odell Lake. That was a MECC produced game, which if you don't know their name, that's the people that helped get the Oregon Trail kind of out more in the public in the 80s and early 90s. And so that was one of their games. It was an educational game about like fish, or you would take the role of one of 6 different types of fish, and then you had to make decisions depending on what you would do when you encounter other fish, or if there was birds in the sky, or insects, or anything like that. But yeah, that was cool. That's kind of one of the things I like about these system variety streams is just trying out things that may or may not have been on my radar at all, for better or for worse, and just learning about stuff. And that one was really cool. uh, Surprise. I think that was also on like the Apple II, from my understanding, from what I heard at the time, uh, when we were streaming it. Um, let's see, Caveman Olympics. I feel like I should talk about that one, because I've done some speed runs of Caveman games on the NES, and basically Caveman Olympics was the original, and then the NES got the port layer with the different name. And it was kind of just fun for me to have fun like doing like comparing and contrasting between the two versions. I think that's kind of mostly where I got my interest out on that one. Um, it's Yeah, I feel like the C64 version had like a lot more personality compared to the NES one, but I think the flow didn't feel quite as smooth or as quick compared to the NES. But yeah, it was cool to kind of get that one, uh, give it some time. And then lastly, Heat Seeker. This is Heat Seeker, all one word, as opposed to Heat Space Seeker. He played the role of like a giant mechanical leg, and you had like an orb that was absorbing energy that you need to do various things. I took some time to like read through the manual on that one, and yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed that. Like the lore in this seemed like absolutely insane, which that type of stuff appeals to me. But yeah, for the actual like fun factor on it, I'm not sure that was there for me. But yeah, I appreciated like how interesting that was, to go through. And yeah, I could talk about like all this stuff, and this video would like turn into like an hour or two if I talked about every game individually here. So we are going to move on. Katana's here ready to help us talk about the next game, which was Plock on the Super Nintendo. That was a one stream redeem, and she's going to be a menace. That's fine. This is pretty typical what happens on stream anyway, so we'll just deal with it here. But yeah, I mean, Plock, I think, exceeded my expectations. If you look up the footage of that game, it just seems like this is going to be just an average mascot platformer. It sort of looks like an Amiga game to me, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but just, I think generally speaking, Amiga ports to consoles, I've not had the best track record on uh, being good conversions. Uh, but I was pleasantly surprised with this one. You play the role of Plock, who loves to collect flags, and somebody stole his flag, and he is mad. I learned Plock has a lot of anger issues, and I think the game's just basically like all about him trying to go find who took his flag, and so he can get his collection of flags back. Um, but yeah, it's kind of unique that your attacks, he's like literally like taking his limbs, like his arms and his legs, and like throws them at enemies. And that was kind of an interesting mechanic to try to get used to. Um, it Yeah, especially like if you didn't have legs and you were like on a little bit of an incline, you would like slide down hills, which I thought was kind of interesting, and that definitely got me quite a few times. I wasn't quite ready for it because I'm just like spamming the attack buttons during that game. Um, but yeah, I mean, the music in that game too. It caught me off guard. It was like some top tier music. Tim Fallon, I believe, was the composer for that, and he has a good track record for a lot of things that he's made in his career. And yeah, Plock was no exception. So even though I didn't finish that game, I could see myself coming back to it, and potentially during Plocktober when that might happen. And lastly, the final game during the month of March was Blast Core on the Nintendo 64. It finally came up on the wheel to play a Nintendo 64 game, and that is what I chose to play for that entry. This took place over two streams. It the concept of it or the story in it is a runaway truck that has like these really bad missiles on it that if they hit anything, the town's doomed. And boy, we need somebody to stop it, so they hire the Blast Corps. Um, it's yeah, so basically you're taking these vehicles and the set path that this truck is going on at a generally a pretty slow pace. You have to destroy all the buildings that are in its path with the vehicles provided. There's a lot of variety on the vehicles that you can use, and some levels are designed specifically to like, up you have to use this particular vehicle. And yeah, it's just kind of like one of those like silly fun type of things. It's maybe not, it doesn't take itself seriously at all, which that's totally fine with me. um but yeah, it's some of the stages too, it was like a little puzzly. That was not something I was quite expecting, and it was good to figure out like how to uh through slowly repeating over and over like what was going on with that. So that was cool to play through that one. That's been on my to play list for quite some time, and glad we got through it. And that concludes the last games I played on stream during the month of March. For games played off stream, just a couple of games this time. Got back into Pacross S, Genesis, and Master System version on the Nintendo Switch. That was a lot of systems name for the title and the actual system where it was played. Yeah, still making some good progress in that one. I just kind of pop that in whenever I'm in the mood to do a puzzle for 10, 20, 30 minutes or so. As far as like in-game progress, I think I'm on puzzle number 103 in the regular Picross mode and 91 in Mega Picross. I've done all of the color Picross uh, puzzles that exist in the game, and then every clip Picross that is come up during that time. So yeah, just still slow, steady progress. And that one, will I finish it before the end of the year? It's hard to say, but I'm not in any particular rush to do so. Katana's also not in a rush to have me finish that game either. She just wants the head rubs. Then otherwise, continuing Diablo 4 on the PlayStation 4 with my buddy 8 Punches. Yeah, we're still just doing in-game content. Uh, Still kind of exploring like all the facets that the game offers there, and yeah, it's been good. It's held our interest for yet another month here, and we'll just kind of see how it goes in the future. They're definitely going to be playing some more, but yeah, I think there's also like maybe we're starting to see like some things over and over. Still haven't gotten a mythic drop yet, so I don't know if that exists, but we're also finding like there's maybe a few walls because we don't have the expansion uh, that exists. And I know there's like a new expansion coming out in, oh boy, April or something like that. And yeah, I'm not sure how interested am in that personally, but yeah, it's been fun. We've definitely got our money's worth out of that one being just a free offering during the PlayStation Plus whenever that happened last summer. So yeah, that's been good, and that concludes games I have played offline. Also played offline was the entry for the Atari Age High Score Club. The theme for this particular week of games that I played was by a company called Data Age, and 5 games were played uh, for this particular round, and they are Bermuda Triangle, Frankenstein's Monster, Journey Escape, Snake, and Survival Run. Um, Bermuda Triangle, I finished with a score of 12,700. It kind of reminded me of Sequest a little bit, but it was more about like trying to obtain treasures from the bottom of the sea, and then bringing them up to the correct boat at the top while shooting with your submarine, like at various like sharks and stuff, kind of similar to Sequest. It was okay. Don't think I loved it by any means. Then Frankenstein's Monster. That one's been sort of a classic. In my mind, it's sort of a classic game that I've known about for a really long time. I didn't do particularly well. This game punishes you if you lose. You lose points when you lose a life in the game. But it's basically about like some dude that's slowly going down like a set of like three platforms to get a brick to try to build up a wall around the Frankenstein's monster. Um, and it generally doesn't go well, and it has sort of that. I know I kind of maybe thought it was scary back in the day, and maybe it still is a little bit now. Uh, but yeah, the animation at the end is worth looking up if you've not seen it before. Journey Escape, based on the actual band Journey, those shifty-eyed producers and I think groupies and all sorts of weird stuff. But you're basically just navigating every member of the band through this obstacle course of paparazzi and all the other aforementioned things uh, to get to your ship, and then hear like a little Journey tune, like with a Atari 2600 style, the chip that it used. Uh, 171,300. And then next was Snake. I didn't really get into it all that much with a score of 16. And similar was Survival Run, which I think might have been a prototype if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, it was a prototype game. And I'm kind of just looking around. See, 19th, 15th, 12th, 20th, and 19th for every game, respectively, where I was at in the leaderboard is basically bottom half for all of it. Uh, but after that week, I'm sitting at tied for 16th right now. And next, we're ready to talk about pickups. Actually, did have a few of them from the month of March. You may or may not remember that I mentioned in the January update that I was after this controller. Actually found it at a local store for me, which was awesome. This is the Age Tech fishing controller for the PlayStation 1. I did test it out a little bit on Action Bass, which is the only game that I had that was compatible with it as far as I know, at least. But yeah, it worked great. The cranking action seemed to work fine. Every single one of the buttons on here. I'll maybe hold this a little bit closer to get a look at that. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Actually, I found this locally, and it wasn't at like a convention or anything. See what Katana thinks as she gives it its blessing. So yeah, trying to find that big old bass 2 on PlayStation. That's the ultimate game I want to experience it with. But yeah, I mean, fishing games with this peripheral on the table. I don't know if I didn't think about like trying it with just any other PlayStation 1 game, if that would actually work or not. But that might be interesting to try to play something with a fishing controller just to see how that works out. But yeah, so I was very happy to find that. I also, to going oldest to newest here, also did pick up Demon Souls on the PlayStation 3. Uh, been looking for this one for a little bit since I got a PlayStation 3 somewhat recently, so it's pretty new to me console. This one does have the disc and the manual in it, which is great, and you can kind of see a little bit of back art as well. Get the disc out of here. It's a cool find. I've never actually tried a Souls game before, so this could be a new experience for me, which is something I've been kind of wanting to see what the hubbub is about. Like, are they as hard as the reputation they seem to have? Or I don't know. We'll find out at some point in time. And then lastly, this was something I wasn't even really looking for at all, but I've heard of this series mostly on like Steam, and I had no idea like it came out on Switch. But Two Point Campus. There's like Two Point Hospital and Two Point Museum. Uh, yeah, this is the Switch version, and it's like still sealed. I still haven't cracked it open just to even like look inside yet. And I think what got me like this was $20, I believe, which is cheaper than like the I think the Switch and the Steam version from what I looked at the time. And the fact that it was like sealed too, like, oh, okay, I've been kind of curious about this, and I could see this being something I try out like offline, maybe in the near future, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure this is a good streaming game for me personally, but this might be a good one to kind of just chill out with when I'm actually have some time to like play some games offline. So, and but yeah, happy to say we actually had some pickups here from the month of March. And that wraps up our March update for the stream. We have a few things for the month of April. Uh, I know it'll be starting off with Musia, the the classic tale of Japanese horror on the Super Nintendo. That's a one stream redeem. That'll kick off the month right on the first. So it already happened. Spoiler, but can't talk about it yet. That has to wait for next month. Um, and then the wheel determined a Genesis game will be coming up next. I'm still undecided which one I will play for that one as of this recording. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm always down to play Genesis games. And then I know Gumshoe on the NES will be coming up after that. And then we'll just kind of go from there. I'll have to make sure my light zapper still works. And I haven't tested it on this flatter CRT that I have in front of me right now. So that's probably something I need to do pretty soon as well. Just make sure that's all good. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the day, night, whatever time might be for you. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Later.